Hi, it's Jim Dodson, the Florida Bike Guy, your Florida bike crash and injury lawyer. We've got Mark Schiefer this afternoon with us. Mark is the president of Gulf Coast Velo. They're a bike club from Englewood up to Lakewood Ranch. Mark, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, well, thank you, Jim. We're part of Gulf Coast Velo, and we are all about the safety advocacy and bringing safety and enjoyment to cycling in Sarasota and Manatee Counties.
So a lot of people probably haven't heard of you. So tell us when you formed and something about why the club formed and where you originated.
Right. Well, we are brand new. We officially launched about 8 weeks ago. However, the concept for our club started about 6 to 7 months ago. It started as a group of about 6 or 7 of us worried about all the crashes that were happening in the Sarasota Manatee area. And it seemed like there was a crash every week. And we figured there had to be a way to minimize that or help improve on that. So we got together and formed what we called an origination committee. We met monthly for about 6 months before we actually started the club to figure out what's the best way to strengthen an advocacy for cycling safety in our addressed areas. We ended up starting Gulf Coast Velo about 8 weeks ago, as I said, and our membership has grown exponentially. We're up to close to actually just over 80 members at this point. We just finished our first kit order. We ordered kits from Hincapie, and Hincapie tells us we set a record for their company for a first-time club order.
That's great. That's great.
I guess that's a good sign that we're on the right track.
You're answering some kind of a need somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so, as this group started, I would say as this group started the club, we pretty much set a few cornerstones that we wanted to be recognized as. And number one was safety, which we broke into 2 parts. One was the safety advocacy, where we wanted to address the local municipality, county and city level, as well as law enforcement. And secondly was education. We'll be putting on ride clinics for folks at all ride levels with LCI certified instructors. Secondly, we wanted to be transparent and member-centric. Our club is driven by its member base, not by the board or not by an individual in the club. And thirdly, it's just to have fun, no drama, just to enjoy what we're doing. We're all out here doing it, for fun and for health, and nobody needs the headaches of,
I know you and I were chatting a few minutes before we went live, and the no drama issue. Tell me a little bit more about what you mean there.
Well, as we're doing group rides, everybody who has done group rides have come across situations where somebody isn't quite maybe doing something quite right, or they don't quite know the cycling etiquette of riding in a group, and they might be making a mistake, and you'll see someone else get upset and yell. We've all been around that. Within Gulf Coast Velo, there is no yelling on group rides. We see these opportunities as teaching opportunities for folks. If you see somebody doing something wrong, we ask that folks talk to them in a very gentle, I guess, teaching type manner, and help them understand what they're doing and help correct what they're doing, or talk to the right leader and have the right leader talk to them. But there's no excuse for getting upset with somebody, unless, of course, they're doing the same thing over and over again and they've got an attitude. Then we'll probably ask them not to ride with us anymore. But we see 99% of the time they're teaching moments, not yelling opportunities.
Well, I think you mentioned earlier too that the no drama extends to a driver who may do something stupid. And what's your position in terms of correcting the driver, encountering the driver, whatever you might call it?
No, exactly. I mean, we talked about a good opportunity that I experienced just yesterday. I'm doing my ride. I'm doing about 24, 25 miles an hour down the road, and I had a big white pickup truck breeze by me 1 foot away doing about 65 miles an hour. When somebody's passing you like that, it's a surprise. It's a shock when they're that close. So I did end up catching him at the next intersection at a light, and had a little chat with him in a nice, calm manner, and explained to him that he might not appreciate having to live with the fact that he killed somebody on the road when he could have just got over 2 or 3 feet, And quite frankly, the response, you could tell he was gearing up to go into battle, but that kind of took the air out of his lungs, and he just looked at me and kind of nodded and drove away. And no,
always assume they did it intentionally. A lot of people simply don't know. They haven't ridden a bike. They don't know what it's like to pass or be passed that closely.
That's right. And I think that was the case in this incident, for sure.
So let's talk a minute about you have 80 riders, 80 members right now. Give me an idea of how you break down in terms of the rides and the speed groups that you're aiming for and kind of your goal there.
Right. Well, we address all speed groups. We have rides on our website. People can go to our website at www.gulfcoastvelo.net. And we have a calendar there on the site that talks about the rides and the different paces and speeds and drop versus no drop. Our most common ride is an 18-20 to 20 mile an hour ride in Lakewood Ranch on Sunday morning at 7:30. We meet in front of Kaiser University on Lake Osprey, which is just off of University Boulevard.
Okay.
We have 20 to 25 people show up, and the majority ride in that 18 to 20 mile an hour group. If we do get riders that come in that are a little bit slower, we'll set up a group for them. And on top of that, we usually have a few A and B plus riders in the group as well.
Right.
The whole group will go off together, and then there's a point in the route that the A's and the B riders will split off.
Okay. I know that you were talking about a women's only event you did recently. Kind of tell me about that and what your thoughts are about the popularity of a women's only ride.
Right. Well, as I mentioned before, one of our cornerstones is to be member-centric. We want the direction of the club to come from the membership. And an idea for an all-ladies ride came through our members' Facebook page, and we thought it was a great idea, and we wanted to give it a shot. We talked to the ladies and asked what they were looking for, and they wanted, number one, they wanted mechanical support. They're afraid of fixing flat tires or having breakdowns, and they would appreciate security, quite frankly. Riding through a neighborhood, and especially in the evening time frame. And they also like to have a little social time after the ride. So we put all that together. Last Thursday, we did our inaugural ladies ride throughout Lakewood Ranch. We had about 15, 16, 17 ladies show up. We had 2 cars set up for SAG support, both in the front and the back. We had a couple of our gentlemen members work as sweepers. In other words, they rode with the ladies, and if there were a split of groups or what have you, they would kind of help take care of the individual groups, which it did happen. It did split into 2 different groups, so it was good that they were there. And ladies really enjoyed the ride. It was safe. It was secure. After the ride, we had a little social time. We had refreshments. We had some recovery supplies, and we even had a little Pinot Grigio at the request of some of the ladies. So it was a great time, and everyone really enjoyed it. And our sponsors really stepped up, by the way. I want to mention our sponsors on this ride. Our title sponsor is Air Medical Group. They provided the refreshments and the wine for that request. Michael Bell, a real estate attorney, provided Starbucks gift cards to everybody that rode. By the way, this was a member and non-member ride. You didn't have to be a Gulf Coast Velo member to be participating. So any lady in the area could participate. And then our local bike shop in Lakewood Ranch supplied water bottles, scratch, and chamois butter for the ladies. So everybody came out with something. Air Medical Group also provided a jersey that we raffled off. So it was really a great event. And afterwards.
You mentioned your sponsors. You actually have 2 bike shops, Ryder in Lakewood Ranch and Bicycles International.
Right.
In Venice, right?
Venice, yep.
So that's your 5, right now, your 5 sponsors in the club.
Yeah, we have the 2 bike shops, and both, by the way, are very active in their local cycling communities, and they both work very well together. Ryder Bikes has been supporting cycling in the Lakewood Ranch area for many years, and Bicycles International does a great job in the Venice area bringing new riders into the cycling environment.
I know they do a big emphasis on acclimating new riders to riding.
Yep, absolutely. And then we have one more sponsor in the Venice area. It's Remax, realtor. Everybody who doesn't know Remax, but we have a local realtor, Cheryl Polito, and her husband, Tim Polito, are very active in the cycling community. Tim's been riding for years. He's probably the fastest 65-plus-year-old rider in Central Florida. He does race as well. And they both, again, support everything that Gulf Coast Velo is involved in.
So I know you had the initial women's only ride on Thursday night, and that was really a one-time event at the time. What's your thought about doing something more along the ride just for women?
Yeah, well, as we after the ride, we talked to the ladies to see what they thought, what they liked, what they didn't like, what they would like to see. And one comment that came back is maybe not doing it on Thursday evening, but maybe doing it on the Saturday morning ride. Now, there's a lot of rides around the area on Saturday mornings, and most of these ladies don't participate when it's kind of a mixed male-female type environment. They kind of like riding with other ladies. So we're thinking the next one will probably be on a Saturday morning, and we'll see what happens. But we will, based on the feedback we get, we'll continue these rides on a weekly or monthly basis as long as the ladies support the ride. We'll be there to support them.
So talk about the speed group for the ladies too.
Yep. Most of the ladies, it was about an 18 to 20 mile an hour ride for, I'd say, 3/4 of the ladies. And there was a quarter that was more around the 16 to 18 mile an hour that broke off. And again, it all depends on who shows up for the ride, how that's going to be separated out. But we actually had the support there to be with both groups. So what
I'm hearing is you're member centric. So if your members want a particular type of ride, you're open to try to supply that need. Is that what I understand?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, this club is for the members. It's not a club for our board members. It's a club for all the members. So, and what's nice about being a new club is that we're an open slate. So we can try new things. We can do things that, maybe some folks couldn't get another club to do that they were a past member of or current member of as well. I mean, many of our members are members of multiple clubs, by the way.
Yeah, and I'm sure that happens a lot. A lot of people are members of multiple clubs, and they take advantage of different things that different clubs offer. So what does it cost to be a member, and how does someone become a member?
Well, you can become a member by going to our website. Again, it's www.gulfcoastvelo.net, and our membership application is there. You will also be required to sign up on a waiver to be a member. The membership fee is $35, and that runs from now or when you sign up to the end of 2019. So you're getting a bit of a bargain. You're getting about a year and a third at this point for one annual fee.
Good. So tell me, I know you have the private Facebook page for the members. You got a public Facebook page, and I think Katie has put the location of that on the screen. You've got your website.
Right.
Give me your vision for Gulf Coast Velo, what you want to do in terms of safety, advocacy, clinics, and what have you. You and I talked about that before we went live.
Sure. Well, the key thing from the safety advocacy side is the one working with our local municipalities and the law enforcement. We actually have a member who is the cycling ambassador for the city of Venice. It's a real title, believe it or not. And that is Darlene Culpepper, the wife of Wesley Culpepper, who are both the owners of Bicycles International there in Venice. We also have members who are on the board of the local Sarasota and Manatee County MPO, Municipal Planning Organization. And the committee that's important to us is the Pedestrian Cycling Committee on the MPO. And we have members who are involved with that. So not necessarily starting from scratch, but we're working with folks that already kind of have a foot in the door, and we're looking to expand our efforts there. My background, I've got a bit of a safety legislation background as well. I was vice president of marketing for a safety-oriented company in a different field, in fire extinguishers and carbon monoxide and smoke alarms. And I've gone around the country and helped develop county-level legislation for requiring carbon monoxide alarms at senior daycare centers and things like that. So, and I've also served on the board of the National Safety Council for 3 years. We were chartered by the U.S. Congress to set the safety agenda for the nation. So we got quite a strong safety advocate background. We know how to get it done. We've got folks on board that have got things done. And the things we're looking to do is anywhere from the freebie stuff to the stuff that's maybe a little more complicated. The free stuff is simply getting potholes fixed and getting rocks out of bike lanes in front of construction sites and things like that. That's the easy stuff that should be done. The more complicated things might be putting up signs, 3-foot signs and bike lanes, or developing roundabouts for cyclists. There are 2 roundabouts on Honore that were not developed with cyclists in mind. The bike lane ends right as you go into the roundabout, where drivers are on the left.
That's That's a very common issue because it forces you into the lane and the driver's not expecting you and you're not aware of it there.
Exactly right. So, beginning
Drivers don't know what to do in
process
roundabout.
early. Yeah, I mean, we just need people to get involved in that process early and start raising those points as they're designing these things. So,
Well, you know,
where we want to be.
more safety to the party, the better. And I think the better relationship we have with law enforcement is hugely important. I mentioned to you when we were talking before we went live that, you know, in my experience, many times the police roll up on a bike crash scene and assume when they get out of the car that the cyclist did something wrong. And now let's look for some evidence to support that. And I think, you know, the relationship you develop with law enforcement goes a long way to eliminating all of that and giving us a fair shot at looking at an accident scene, you know, impartially.
Absolutely, it's critical, and that's been on our agenda as well. And of course, the other side of the safety thing is education. We have clinics planned coming up, and we will have LCI certified instructors do our clinics. It's not just going to be a guy that's been a member or been cycling for 10 years, you know, trying to teach others his way of doing things. We're going to have actually certified people that give these clinics. So, you know, our motto in this whole scheme of things is cycling done right, that we've come up with in the club. And, you know, we want to be able to make sure we're telling people the right thing on etiquette and how to do things.
Well, you know, all that stuff rings very important to me. I always remind cyclists that when we're on the bike, on the road, we're communicating the cycling etiquette to the world. And when we do things that are stupid and we blatantly disregard what we should be doing, you're communicating to the world that we're a bunch of hooligans. And
that's exactly right.
You got to change that because so many people, you get down to a courtroom and try to pick a jury trial on a bike case and people are raising their hands saying, I hate cyclists. They never obey any traffic rules.
Everybody has a camera today, you know, with their cell phones and everything else. So when they see cyclists, you know, cruising through a red light, for example, you know, there might not be any traffic, but cruising through a red light, you know, we're all supposed to follow the same rules as cars on the road, right? So stop signs and things like that, it's bad publicity for everybody. So those are the kind of things that we want to address as well.
Well, and I tell people what you're doing is you're polluting the jury pool.
Yep, that's a good point. That's a good way to put it.
That's because all those people, they're really quick about the negative things.
That's perfect.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about talking to you guys and letting the world know that you exist.
Yeah, perfect.
I think that you are filling a niche in your area, obviously. If people want to find out more, I want to direct them to your website. Is there anything you want to say here before we sign off? It's been really a pleasure talking to you, Mark.
No, I think just that we would like to thank you for what you're doing as well, Jim. I mean, what you're doing for the cycling community and offering the information that you offer, and these types of interviews go a long way in helping us talk about what we're doing in our neck of the woods. It's really appreciated. And I want to thank you for becoming a member of Gulf Coast Velo, by the way, and supporting. Yeah. So that's we really do appreciate that as well.
So everybody check out Gulf Coast Velo. They're going to have, actually you're having a meet and greet. Talk about that a minute. I meant to mention that. On the
as a new club, we'll be announcing the date, firming up the date, but sometime here in probably the second weekend of October, we'll go members meet and greet for the first time, getting all the members together. It'll be a family park type setting, probably a potluck or something like that, just casual, fun time. And then we also have an annual meeting coming up. Our first annual meeting as a club will be in early December. We'll be announcing that date and place, where we'll be electing our first full board, full term board, and talking about budgets and everything else. So any members, anybody that's a part of the club will not want to miss it for sure.
Well, and I want to lobby you on behalf of the Florida Bicycle Association to make sure your members are aware of the FBA and that the club encourages them to be individual members as well. A lot of times we have clubs that belong to the FBA and people think that satisfies what should be done, but we're encouraging individual memberships, and I'll talk to you about that more.
Perfect. Enjoy. Well, thank you very much for this time.
Thank you, Mark, for joining us. It's Jim Dodson, the Florida Bike Guy. We'll see you out there on the road. Be safe. Goodbye.